Hello fans of Marvel Heroes, my name is Wilfred and welcome to my channel. Now this is a guide for the Omega system, mainly built for your new players. Previously I've created a guide that's more for the veteran and advanced player because I couldn't wait to share my mathematical finding with you all. And so some of you who are experienced with Omega system probably can relate to that video. Now but this very video is very much targeted to those who are just come to the game and sort of like a little bit overwhelmed with all these stats and so on. And I'm here to help you out, walk you through the Omega system to sort of like give some advice on which one are the good nooks that you should pay attention to. I'm not going to create a video for different kind of the hero type because there's so many in this game. There's so many. It could be a melee, pure melee or pure range, and after that you may have a hybrid of melee and range. Then add on to that you may have different damage type, physical, mental, energy, a mix of two, a mix of three, and you have summoner, non-summoner as well. So I thought maybe I just give you a general kind of like a walkthrough of the entire Omega system, mainly just for the new players. And because to really understand what to pick and so on, you have to understand the fundamental of the game. So I'm going to spend some time talking about the fundamental, and I'm going to put a time code at the bottom of this video in case you want to come back and then revisit some of the topics. Okay, now this game is very rich. Everything here is pretty complex for a new player, I understand. So whatever you do, always observe the power that you have selected for your build. If you follow my guide, I have a lot of builds for you in this channel, but you could also go out and kind of experiment, try out some of this, like in marvelheroes.info. That is really cool as well. So first thing first, you must understand is that this is the power that you have. All this, they have tags to it. So underneath the blue tags, there's a tag in melee, and after that you may have melee, area, bleed. Now these are very important information because whatever nook that you picked, whatever gear that you picked, whatever stat you want to improve stat that all the powers can benefit, or at least most of them. So that is really your job to understand your power and to understand what kind of damage type, what kind of tag works for you. Not only that, there's something called the physical damage, energy, mental as well. So do pay attention to those tags as well. Those are very, very important information. I have a video earlier on talking about damage type, damage rating. So all this stat here has something called the various kind of damage rating that increase your normal damage, and then you have the crit damage rating, the brutal damage rating. So if you are not familiar with that, I would strongly suggest you take a look at one of my videos. I'm going to link it somewhere to get at least understand how mathematically derive all this number. But at a very overview level, I always advise all of you all to take a very balanced approach. You could push for very high crit, but then if your normal damage is not high enough to be scaled by the crit, that doesn't really make sense. You could push for very high brutal, but if your crit is not high enough, it wouldn't open up the window for you to have the brutal, because brutal is the crit of crit. So in this game, it's very important. Or you could have very high crit, very high brutal, pretty good normal as well. But then if your crit damage rating is not high, then whenever you crit or brutal, you don't really see a big number. So all in all, I always say that when it comes to gearing, when it comes to Omega system, always to close the gap. Understand where your hero's weaknesses are and supplement that with the decision you're making in terms of Omega system. But as I always say that not only you should pay attention to the offensive power, you must pay attention to your defensive as well, because a dead hero cannot DPS. So there are actually nooks, there are gear that will help you with the health. And there are also gear stats like the defense, deflect, and dodge. I also have videos on talking about the fundamental of how to make your hero strong based on all these stats. But if you're a new player, just want to understand very quickly, defense rating is the best stat you have because that is like the like all resist in Diablo kind of world. It is the very fundamental defense system. It will not fail. It will always help you. But while for deflect, there's a chance to half the damage. Dodge, there's a chance to mitigate all. But everything is chance. You can't leave it by chance, in my opinion. Then also you have to think about the health regen as well, because as your hero is taking damage, is it fast enough to regenerate health? So these are some of the information that you need to pay attention to when you when you gear your hero. Now there are also other stats like, oh, by the way, of course, if you are a summoner, you have something called summon ally damage somewhere here that you have to kind of like increase as well. All right. Now if you are new to a game, there are many stats, but I wouldn't recommend things like tenacity. It's not really that helpful. Even the total defense rating, total deflect, total dodge, I wouldn't really go out of the way to get it. If I have it, I'm fine. But if I don't have it, that's fine too. It's not something that I would really go out of the way to get it. Attack speed is another one very interesting topic. Basically, attack speed only, in most scenarios, it only affect your main spender. All right, so it doesn't really help you with a lot of like other powers you have. So it's just not some stat. This game doesn't have a haste in other games that you have to increase the number of ticks that you have for the damage over time and so on and so forth. It's not that rich in that sense. So some of these stats don't need to go out of the way to get it, but just make sure that you've got very nice normal damage, crit damage rating, brutal damage rating. If you're a summoner, make sure that your summon ally damage is good. And if you're a summoner, the only stat that go to a pet is going to be the crit hit rating and brutal strike rating. Nothing else go to a pet. All right, so just remember that. Okay, with that said, I would also talk about the attribute as well. You see a lot of this kind of attribute here because these are fundamental sets of the hero, which I personally feel that is very important for you to rank them up, the right one. In terms of DPS, fighting is always the best. I went through a number after the nerf of the Hela, so it is still the best for fighting. But the thing about fighting is that it doesn't give you utilities. For example, strength and energy. Now, strength will buff only the physical power that you have, and the energy will buff both the mental and the energy. So do bear that in mind when you gear, because a lot of you sometimes you don't really know which one is it, and you just pick any. I've seen some of you actually pick something quite random. So do pay attention to the description here. Now, strength and energy give you 4% per point here of strength, 4% of base damage. And then after that, fighting is only 3%. But then the good thing about fighting is the brutal strike rating that you have, because you want it to open up brutal. For end game, brutal is important. Now, the good thing about strength and energy, though, is something that you should not ignore because it reduces the spirit cost. Spirit cost is important to kind of like for you to maintain basic lust build. So as I recommend to everybody at end game, use aspire not to use basic power except if the hero is being designed so, because there are some heroes out there that are using basic power as a main spender to regenerate resources or whatnot. So only in those scenarios use a basic power. Otherwise, I would strongly recommend use something that is totally you call spirit, but you have to sustain it. To sustain it, there are many ways. One is to one way is to actually rank up your attribute to make sure that your spirit cost is reduced. Okay, so now speed is only for movement build. So there are many movement heroes in this game, and there are many full movement heroes in this game. Like every single power is movement, including the spender. So there are many, but if you are playing a movement hero, then you may want to pay attention to this stat, the speed. And as for intelligence, that is for the summoners, for the pets, because it's a really nice damage that go to the pet as well. But on top of that, it also gives you crit hit and that crit damage rating. That's pretty nice for the hero as well. Okay, now last but not the least, not to undersell this one, because durability is important, especially for endgame content, Cosmic Danger Room like this one. You may find area whereby that's very, very hard to conquer because you just not enough health, regen and so on. So do not underestimate this stat as well. Sometimes it will help your hero to get over a certain hurdle. So I hope all in all you understand this the stat and understand the attribute that build your hero. So those are fundamental stuff that you should understand. All right, so now that is part one of the video. Now part two is really talking about the Omega system. Omega system work this way. You started off with 0 when you first sign up the game, and after that, as you earn XP, you actually increase your Omega point as well. So the best time to rank up the Omega system, there are two things here. One is the event, because some of the event will give you a good amount of XP bonus. Some of the event will give you a massive amount of XP bonus. So now XP work in this way: your client side XP and then the server side XP, and the two multiply together is a resulting XP bonus. How do you find your client side XP? Your client side XP is that there's a stat somewhere here that say the XP bonus. So read this description. I'm not going to read it out for you all, but just do read it. The more heroes you have at level 60, the more bonus you have at up to 20%, 200%, and then you can have other places that you can rank up your XP as well. I'm going to share that with you. So it is important, very important, if you are trying to get to the end game here with the 10,000 Omega system. It's very important, and also there's a diminishing return in terms of getting the points. So initially it's very easy for you, but as you approach 7,500, it becomes slower and slower, and after that, beyond that, it's even slower. So you probably would need to use some boost if you are a little bit impatient from the store in the game. It is totally up to you. And basically play the game when there's an event. Play end game, because level 60 will earn you the most experience point. I know a lot of you are distracted and play some other hero. That's fine as well. Life is not about max. If you enjoy what you're doing, do it. But for myself, I would like to at least get 10,000 points, and then after that, I can play anything else I want. So I strongly recommend play end game and use some hero that teleport a lot faster to get to places. So that is my advice to you. All right. Now let's start with the Psionics Omega system. Now this let me just reset all. Then we can talk a little bit more about that. So okay, so this is a Psionic Omega system. What do you need to pay attention to? So I'm going to walk through some of the notes here to pay attention to. If you are leveling, even if you are actually doing Omega system like me, when I was grinding for Omega system, I don't care about DPS because I farm my XP in a group environment. Whether I kill fast or not, it doesn't really matter that much so long as I'm boosted on my XP. So this one I kind of like it a lot for the if you are just leveling, or you are just like getting your Omega system. So I recommend this one. And so what I'll do, I'll put at one point here so everybody understand. And then this one also, XP per enemy defeat. So don't underestimate all these things, because over your course of a career as a hero, you defeat a lot of enemies, and each enemy gives you some bonus, and these are passive. So why not earn this passive XP? Don't throw it away. It's very cheap, 1 point. Why not just boost it? So yeah, so these are the ones that I would recommend if you are a new player, or you are just not too much into getting like a DPS or end game and so on. This is very good for you, even for me, the Grand Omega system. Now another thing that I'd like to recommend to you is that if you are playing Summoner, and especially this is a very good note, but even if you're not, and this is a very good note to close a gap. I usually actually use the Shadow King to close a gap whenever I feel that my hero doesn't crit so much, because there are some gears like the legendary, like Power Cosmic and so on, they do not have any crit component to it. So it's rather hard to get a certain kind of crit target goal. Many people ask me, what's my goal? It really depends though. If you play this game a lot, have a lot of artifacts, 10,000 Omega point, then I'll say, yeah, 50% crit, there's something around that you should hit it. But for new players, sometimes it's very hard, right? So I would say 40-ish is something that you should at least try to get. But this is a rather good note, but this note is not cheap. This note is rather expensive for you to close gap, or some points that you have remaining. 10,000, you can't spend all, you have another couple of hundred to burn, then you can burn it to this one, right? Another one that I would like to talk about is that, for Summoner, okay, let's start with Summoner, right? Because Psionic is a little bit more to Summoner, a little bit more to the energy and mental kind of hero. So this one is for grinding of Omega point is good, because intelligence means and the XP bonus as well. You can check your stat description there. So not only does it help the Summoner, it helps the hero's XP. So when I was leveling, I do this, but I hate this note because it kind of slow my hero down for quite a fair bit. I walk like slow motion. I really hate it. This is kind of I don't really like the kind of penalty here. But for Summoner, the +6 intelligence is very good. So if you are playing a Summoner, you should aspire to get there. But these are not cheap, man. The note here is 1,002 points. So, just bear in mind, this is not really for the new player, but for the player who may have already got like 4,000 Omega point, then you spend it there. But if for a new player, go for those smaller notes for you to at least get a flavor on everything that you can get a hand on. All right. So, so this is a note that is for the summoner. However, if you are grinding for XP, I still recommend this one. I take this one, hands down. I will take this one. Okay, so I may just take 1 point here. So I don't want to take too much move speed count penalty, but I will take 1 point here. All right. Now, again, if you're a summoner, I would not put too many points here, unless you are very, very certain that you wouldn't want to put it on anywhere else, because this is a rather expensive note. And because your summon ally health is not something that I found it very useful. Even if I have this one summon ally health to max, if my pets are not strong enough, they will die anyway. I can resummon. So there are some pets that are very strong, some pets that are not, and this game is very unbalanced, imbalanced sometimes when it comes to all these things. So I'll put 1 point here, but I'll definitely max this one if I can, because this is a very, very good note for you to. Because these are by percentage base. So it's one of those things that you can get quite a lot of like 10% base on the crit chance and brutal strike chance. I don't know why they haven't nerfed it yet. I hope they don't, but this is something that I would strongly recommend if you're playing a summoner. All right. Now, if you are not playing a summoner and all these notes doesn't make sense to you unless you are grinding for Omega system. So what do you need to pay attention to? This one here is good, the Phoenix Force. It gives you plus energy. So this is very good. But what about the thing leading to here, right? Let's examine them. If you don't need XP, 1 point is fine. Melt Phase is brutal damage rating ever since the Hela nerf, and shall I say the brutal chance nerf. Brutal damage rating is not a stat that you should aspire to get anyway, so you can skip this one. No need to max. Don't need to max. It wastes a lot of money, a lot of points on this one. This is a very good note, provided that you are a mental kind of like hero. If you are an energy hero, then you won't benefit from it, but you still need this one to open up the rest, right? So this one is all right. Again, it's not something that you max it. It just get you to next point. So. Again, if you are not mental hero, you can't really benefit a lot from here. Now, this one is nice. This one is something that I would recommend you to max it if you can. All right, and this one is good, also good. Although it gives you like it seems like if I'm playing energy hero, I don't really benefit from mental. So should I still get it? It's good because it is actually covered in both sides, and that they don't cost double. So it's something that I would recommend you to use, be it as an energy or mental hero. But all in all, you need the +1 energy. Why? Because you want to reduce the spirit cost, and this is something very good to have. All right, so it's something that I would recommend. As for this side though, anything else you like to recommend here? Well, I mean, some would like to have this guy here. It's a rather cheap point because it's a 10% base, and but you lose 1% of your current health. So you could actually get quite a lot of things from here. You can have like 5 points here, it's up to like 50% base damage. And it's not bad. 50% base damage is like 2,000 damage rating. But it loses 5% of your health when it hits. I think in most scenarios, all right. But in a harder scenario, like in the Cosmic Danger Room, some of the scenario you can't even heal. You just keep losing your health, and that's not. I find it a little bit handicapping. My handicap in some scenarios. So, but if you like to try this, do try it. It's quite a good note. But bear in mind, you have to probably either have a very high kind of health regen or just keep eating med kit. Now, another note that I'd like to draw your attention to is this note here for the range power. So range power, this one is very good. If you have spare points, it's something that you would like to pay attention to, especially for the hybrid heroes, for the range hybrid heroes. So, if you are doing physical energy or energy mental and stuff like that, then because it buffs the range, so it buffs both sides of the power, so that is very good to consider. All right, so something for you to think about. Then let's move on to the next one here. I can't cover every note, all right, so I'm just going to cover the notes that I feel that is very important for you to consider. All right, now this is a very good note if you are going for the physical hero, because for physical hero, a lot of physical heroes are actually at the a melee level and a melee kind of range. So the extra health is always good, and there's a size increase as well. Good or bad, I don't know, because what I usually do is that I take this one, but then I use a shrinking serum to counter this side, because I don't like my hero to go off the chart too much. It looks odd. It looks very odd. So I don't mind the bosses to be bigger, but hero is fine as they are. So do bear in mind, it costs quite a fair bit, but you pay for the health as well. Something I would recommend if you playing a melee physical hero. And in any case, there are many nooks for you to increase the plus strength. So you may still need to take, say, 5 points to it. Usually that's what I do. Right. Another one to think about is that if you are playing summon ally damage, you could actually use this one instead. As well, because it gives you the summon ally damage as well as a plus intelligence. Also, if you are grinding for Omega points and you want the extra XP, I use that too. That doesn't really matter. DPS doesn't matter when you're grinding for XP. All right. There are other things here like the plus energy. Now, the return for the plus energy here versus the plus energy here is not as good. But you can understand because it has utility to it. The flat, mental defense rating, you have to pay for those utility. I personally do not like the flat. It's one of the worst stat on the whole entire kind of like a defense dodge. The flat kind of like setup. So I wouldn't recommend too much on this +1 energy. I'd rather get the other one. Although I may have an energy hero that do not benefit from the mental note along the way, I still feel that it's more value for money on the other side. All right. So this one is really if you are on a movement hero, then you may want to consider. But these are really high, very very high cost. I wouldn't even consider that for my movement hero. All right. So none of this really not really that appetizing. So definitely not this one. So don't do that. Now another one to consider is this guy here, the hybrid. This one I recommend. This one I recommend, and this one I recommend as well. If you are playing a melee hero and you find that you need to have more defense, and also if your melee hero has both the range and melee. So for example, there are heroes out there that does both range and melee, not just pure melee. So if you do that, I think it's rather nice because it gives you some dodge as well. This power is not that value for money, of course, compared to others as well, but there's a utility to it. I always value defense, especially if your hero is maybe the flat dodge hero, then the extra bit of defense wouldn't harm. All right, so that's something to consider. Now on to the next bit, which is neuro enhancement power of view. There are many nooks here that are really good. There are some that will give you a lot of trade-off, but nowadays brutal strike trance is so important. I wouldn't really do anything on that. And this one is as well. I mean, this is a rather cheap note though for 60 damage rating, and you can rank it up as well. But the problem is the defense rating in this game, especially for hard content. Defense is so very important because that is like the last defense that you have. This defense rating never fails, so I would not want to minus off 120 defense rating just to get some DPS on the mental. No, not for me. But if you find that you can sustain the kind of like damage incoming damage and still can survive, then yeah, all the best for this one. Yeah. So now this one I recommend things like this one, the neurobotics. If you are playing a physical mental heroes, which is like a hybrid thing, these are nice notes, low hanging fruit as well. Doesn't cost too much. Another one that I would like to recommend is this one here. But that is really for melee heroes. Give you the melee crit hitting, but also give you the crit damage rating. That in the whole entire system there are many crit damage ratings. So it's one of those that is really nice to have. The score actually very high as well according to my calculation. So this is all that I would recommend over here. Don't need to think about the rest of it. And the next bit. Okay, now this arcane attunement is very interesting. It is mainly for hybrid hero, I would say, and also it is for the physical, mental, or physical energy. So what am I talking about here? Things like if when you deal physical tower, you earn energy. When you do energy power, you earn physical damage rating and so on. All right. So this is something that I would only recommend if your power output is very lopsided over one side. For example, heroes like Cyclops as of today. So I don't know, in the future what would it be the case. He has one power, physical power, but the physical power only occupy a very minor, like part of his damage output is really to proc the hybrid gear. So for him, majority of thing is energy. So this node become very good for him, because whenever you hit the physical power, you get a massive amount of energy. But a lot of hybrid could be a 60-40 kind of thing, and this, if that's the case, it's really not worth it to max both nodes. So only if you max one node, it's worth it, but you max both nodes, then it's not something that I would recommend. Same as the rest of it, this one as well, and the and so on. All right, so there's something that these are the things that to pay attention to. The rest I don't really kind of like recommend too much on that. And oh, by the way, these are good stuff as well. If you are playing a mental hero or the energy hero, these are pretty good nodes as well. All right, it gives you both the damage rating and brutal strike rating and crit hit rating. So these are really good nodes if you are pure energy or pure mental. But if you are a mix of energy or mental, then don't do something like that, because you are splitting all your point into two sides of it. You always want to pick a node that benefit the entire spectrum that you have, not just 1 or 2 power or 3 power. All right, so something to bear in mind. This it's a very, very expensive experience. Earning Omega point is never easy, so just don't toss it away. Okay, interstellar exploration is a very, very good system. It's a brand new system they've added this year, and I think it's rather overpowering as well. There are many good nodes there. If you can use it, use it. It's very fantastic. So I'll walk you through some of the nodes that I would highly recommend. Hala is great stuff. So this is the one that if you are doing physical power, you just pick everything here. It's good stuff. This one, if you do a melee and physical proc, I would highly recommend as well, because this all kind of add up as well, and both in place, then you gain the crit. So if you are both using both melee and range in your setup, and melee and range are within 10 seconds of each other, and then max this guy. All right. Half world is also another very good one. Whether you hit robot or not doesn't really matter, but that's only when you hit with both a melee and range power within 5 seconds. So again, it's a melee range kind of like a proc as well. So something that rather good if you do that. Okay, so you can actually lead up to that one, but the most important thing is this guy here, the Satori Prime. So for those who are playing hybrid hero, this is great stuff, because as you gain the mental damage if you hit with mental and so on and so forth, and you have 2 of them together, then you earn the brutal strike rating. So this is really good. I would highly recommend this one, and also this one. Also, this one is fantastic. This one gives you the plus physical, plus strength and plus energy when you hit with the relevant kind of power. So pick this if you are hybrid. This is really good. And now I notice that I'm opening from here, but in the event whereby you don't need this, you don't need this, you don't need this, and you don't need this, because you only do either pure melee or pure range, and you are hybrid, then you can actually open up from the other side, from this side. So you can open up from the earth, and then this one. So you don't need to go through this path as well. All right. So this is something to bear in mind. And another route that I would like to recommend is this route here. Okay. So this one is just it's just a proc here. By the way, proc is not something I would like to play around in the Omega system. As you see in one of my video, proc is something very unpredictable. Sometimes it procs, sometimes it doesn't. It cannot rely upon them. So I would not waste my Omega point on some of this proc. In the future, there may be some hero that can manipulate chance better. I don't know, but as of now, not really. This is great stuff. If you are doing range, then no brainer. Pick this guy. It gives you a crit hit and brutal strike. So I'll max this one. Now this one though, on paper it looks pretty good, but it's very, 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 very expensive. Again, it's for you to close gap. If you feel that you need that brutal strike rating when you hit with the range, get it, but it's very, very expensive. I personally wouldn't throw that in unless I've access number of Omega point that I would like to increase my brutal strike, but it's very, very expensive. Be warned. Okay, if you are playing with the Mental Hero, then you can this one is fantastic. The Wrath World is wonderful. Also, this one is not. This one leading to it, and this one is also rather okay. I will not max it. So again, it's one of those things. If you only look for the This 3 point here, you may want to start from here and then get it from there. But if these two make sense to you, you can start from here. So it really depends on what you want to do it with. All right. So that is the interstellar exploration, one of my favorite one. Now what about here? Now here is very interesting. Has a mix of melee range as well as summoner. If you're playing summoner, max this guy. All right, no brainer, because the SWAT assault weaponry is a very cheap node. They give you the summon ally damage and use it as a benchmark whenever you feel that is it expensive node, is it not expensive node. Yeah, you can use it as a benchmark, and you go back to the previous nodes and feel that, wow, I'm paying so much more for 1% just because I'm increasing the health of the summon ally. Something to think about. All right, so don't waste your Omega Point, hard earned. So another one that I'd like to recommend is this guy here, assault rifle. So this is very good as well for the range power. Now between the two here, the further you are, the more higher damage you deal. So this one is good because only if you are always hitting from the furthest of your power. So if you are hitting a little bit nearer, it doesn't really gain so much. So and what about this one? Some people say, wow, the range power deal more damage closer you are. If you are doing melee, you also do range. So it wouldn't be good. Well, it's good if your entire toolset is range. But if it's not, if you do some melee here and there, then this is less effective. And don't waste your Omega Point on something that doesn't benefit the entire toolbar. So your priority is always buff the entire hotbar that you have. All right. None of this is really appetizing. Tech round, no, it's very expensive. Another one I would like to recommend is this guy's here as well. If you are doing physical damage, is a rather good one. Low hanging fruit for a new player to pick some of this, like a physical damage rating if you're playing a physical hero. All right. Now my favorite actually is this two here. So this one give me +1 durability. Remember I said durability is something that you should pay attention as well. In this Omega system, this is the place for you to get your durability. But more so is the next one here, which is the base to melee power, also defense rating. Now it scales up pretty nicely for the melee power, but more so is the defense rating because like I said to you, 300, defense is the best stat that you have in your defense, deflect, dodge kind of system. So if you're a pure melee hero, grab this. If you're not pure melee hero, then you think first, because if you are 60-40 kind of heroes, then it may not worth it to invest so many points in it. Just my take. And if you find that heroes are a little bit fragile for some of the harder content, then you may consider maxing this guy as well, because if for fragile hero, there's no choice. You have to rank up your durability, and this one will help. Alright, so something to do. And this one is usually a point dumper. Whenever I got 15 point, 5 point left, I dump it here. So that's all. Now that is the one that I have for this special weapon. And as for the for next one here, also one of my favorite. Why? Because there's Warpath. So +1 fighting benefit almost every heroes. Even for summoners, I found that the brutal strike rating can go into the pet, and it's good stuff. Brutal damage rating is rather rubbish, so but really this one is go for the pure damage plus the brutal strike rating that go into a pet. So I would actually go for the +1 fighting. And there are a couple more here as well, and I would say this one is also quite nice, the Sunflower, because anyway you're going to open up here regardless. So Sunflower, if you are doing the energy damage, it is a good power to consider. Then this one is alright, the Frenzy is alright. Now Frenzy is actually quite expensive for this node on the stat that you're getting, but then again, I mean, there's something that you should think about. Because crit damage rating is something that it's not something that you can get a lot from everywhere. You get it from your costume, you get it from the team insignia, but by and large, this is quite a rather kind of rare commodity. So this is something that you can think about. Costs a bit, but I think it's quite rather worth it. If you're playing a hero whereby, this is great stuff as well, because there are many. You must have a area power somewhere, in your toolbar, and it help your base damage on your energy. So if you need to have more energy output, base output, then you can have it as well. The next one is really for the area kind of power heroes, because there aren't many heroes that does pure area power. So I do have 1 or 2 or 3 heroes that does pure area for the entire hotbar. And happen to have the energy or hybrid or hybrid as well. So this is really for those very specific case. I wouldn't say you should take this one, but only if it's relevant for your hero. Now Psylocke is also very good. Psylocke is a very good hero. I mean, sorry, the note is very good if you are doing physical and melee. Whether you want to go by this path or that path, I would say, I would say probably go for this path. If you're doing melee, it makes sense, because I personally do not like things that lose my health to do some damage. That's only my take. If you don't mind this path, you can do that too. Some will recommend doing this as well. You see, the thing is that it is actually a rather cheap note, though, by the way. If you are like a new player, you find that really fragile, and and you say, yeah, I mean, I would like to at least get some of this rating up to something. So but do bear in mind one thing. Dodge, defense, deflect has a diminishing return. So if your hero is already very low dodge, then maybe you say, well, I have nothing to lose. Fair enough. So it may be a good trade-off, but do bear in mind that even if you have 5% dodge, is not bad really, because there are 5% of time you can avoid completely the damage. And so before you reduce that to further down, because the lower it become, the more painful it become because of the diminishing return. It works both way, right? So the higher your dodge is, the harder you gain, right? So again, the lower the dodge is, the harder you fall as well. So think about something, whether it makes sense for you or not. But this is a very, very cheap note for you to rank up your health and defense really quickly for the new player. I don't really do that for my end game. No, I personally I wouldn't, but because I would like to gear my heroes in a very balanced way, so I have a bit of dodge, a bit of the defense, a bit of deflect as well. Although I know that two of the stats are no good, but they also contribute to damage reduction. So something that might be, you may see a damage reduction kind of like drop if you minus too much of your dodge here. All right, so yeah, so I want to keep it high level, but just some notes to kind of like share. Harpy is good. This is a good note for the melee heroes, and it's also rather low hanging fruit as well. So grab some of this. I recommend. But beyond that, I don't think this is more for teamwork. A lot of these are more for a team kind of like ally kind of rating if you want. But yeah. It's not something that for solo, I don't really think that you should think too much on this one. All right. So this one here, for the new player, this is yet another very good note for you to rank up 5 XP per 5 points. So it's exactly like the other note that I recommend. So if you're still grinding for Omega point, grinding for like XP, just eat this one. I would just recommend this one. All right. Now, whether you want to get this note or not, though, this is really a note for Iron Man and all those heroes that can do energy and strength, and also translate spirit into damage rating. Basically, I can only think of one, Iron Man. So if you play Iron Man, you may consider this note, but this is a very expensive note. By the time you get through this whole thing, I think close to 5,000 points is gone. So it's very expensive. All right, Spin Tech is a very, very nice cheap note for you to get. So I would recommend it, because a lot of time boss matter. If you can defeat the boss faster, do it, right? So Spin Tap, if you're non-summoner, no-brainer. Now, the question is really about, if you're a summoner, what will happen? If you're a summoner, it depends on how summoner you are. Not every summoner would get affected by the discount too much. Now, why do I say that? Because summoner will have a split between the hero damage as well as the pet damage. Some heroes are very strong at the pet damage, like Loki, like Rocket Raccoon, as of today, Iceman, Doctor Doom. But there are some other heroes that are more stronger in the hero kind of part, like Magic and like Ultron. They are very strong in the hero part as well, although they do have the pet output as well. So the more damage that the pet does compared to the hero, the less effective this note will be. So it becomes more expensive for you. You will not gain that much, because this one only works for the hero. It doesn't work for the pet. Nothing go to a pet besides crit hit rating as well as the brutal strike rating. All right, so something to take note. Okay, and this is also one of the very, very nice ones for the physical hero. This one is a nice note. For a new player, get this up, Deathlock program for physical hero. This one also very nice for a new player. But ultimately, you want 5 points here. Super Soldier Serum is a no nonsense note, because there's no strain attached to it. In a sense that there is no other stuff like health and deflect or or whatnot that would cost more for you to get the attribute. There's no strength attack. Even the note that leads onto it, these are very good notes to have. So these are very, very nice. 5 point, eat it all. But you need more than 5 point though at end game. So that's why you still need some other, the one that I talk about, the +5, plus strength as well as the plus health. All right. So this is something that you like to pay attention to. Many people ask me the goblin. Again, I mean, this is a rather interesting note. I think I would only recommend this note if you like to experiment a little bit for that, because the chance is very, very low, and proc chance is very hard to to be consistent in this game. It's just so hard to get the proc right. So I would not really get into this goblin formula, but because now I think before the Interstellar Exploration tab, I would say yes, Goblin formula is good, because for hybrid hero there were nothing else to use. But then now with all these things, you don't need that plus fighting from this node. It's rather expensive, all right? But then again, I mean, if you want to experiment to it, feel free to do it. Not saying that you shouldn't. Another thing that I would like to recommend for the new player is this guy here, Weapon X. It doesn't rank up a lot. I mean, give you another 120 here and there. But then it costs quite little as well. It doesn't cost that much. So it's something that it just costs 12 points, and you can see progressively something that increase. So I would say, yeah, I mean, only if you're doing melee, by the way. Last but not the least, though, on this part is that if you feel your hero is a little bit fragile, this is the good note for you to do health regen, and this is the good note for you to do a little bit health as well. Only if you need the health, only if you need the health regen. So I don't know, some hero need it, some hero no. Not. You are the best judge for your hero. So pay attention. These are some of the notes that you may want to pay attention to, especially if you're a new player, feel your heroes are a little bit fragile because your gear is not as fantastic yet. But don't get disheartened, man. This game is very fragile. This game is very casual. You can get a lot of this gear. Just keep playing. You get improvement here. All right. This is not a. All right. So that is all really. Remaining upon, I mean, there are many places for you to experiment. I do not want to overstretch this game, this part of the video. So, so what else I would like to share with you from the Omega system perspective is that you can reset this guy. Last time you need to pay or use some potion to do that, but you can reset anytime. And usually I may do like sometimes I may reset one. I have one template for the raid, and I may do one for the grinding Omega last time, Omega points, and I may use one for the hard content to pick more defensive stats. So do feel free to experiment and see whichever it works. It's a very rewarding kind of journey, but it's just like getting there is so painful. The 10,000 Omega point, I don't know how I'm going to do it. If they increase the cap to another 10,000, I don't know whether I'll still play this game seriously. So that is all really. One final tips for you on the deciding. If you are playing hybrid hero, be as range or melee, or you are playing like physical versus energy, mental and energy, mental, physical, how do you know how many % I'm dealing what damage? So I've got a very simple system for you, and and don't laugh at me. I mean, this is really a simple system, and it works for those of you who are not into mathematics too much. You do not want to, like me, go through a number. So what do? You can approximate the power here. You can say, take my advice. Main spender is going to be say 40% of your total damage output. So you part 40% upon your main spender. All right. So you can say my hero does 40% of melee. My hero does 40% of physical. Just take it simple, right? You don't need to be exactitude here. The rest of the power you just divide it out. So if you have 6 power here all maxed out, 6 power, each one of power would be like 10%, 10% of this, 10% of that. So you say, okay, 10% on bleed. And after that I say, well, okay, so I've got like no more bleed. So that's 10% of power go to bleed, for example. So do I want to pick a node that have bleed, a gear that have bleed? Well, you should, because you proc the bleed. But say, for example, area, they have 10% on area, then you have 10%, 20% here, then you have another 10%, then you have 30%, then you said 40%, then 50%, 60%. So you have 60% on area. So, well, should I pick area node? Well, it's actually pretty decent, but this is not area. So whatever area kind of node that you pick, you only benefit 60%. So it's something to think about, all right? And you say, oh, physical, then of course everything here is physical. But if you have another heroes whereby there's a mix of physical and energy, then you can use it to gauge. This is 40%, the rest of the 10%. Say you have 6 power, but if you have lesser power, then proportionate accordingly. All right, so that is really the end of it. I thank you so much for watching this video. It's been rather long, but I just would like to cover all the topics here so that you all understand for the new players, you understand how the whole thing works. Feel free to drop me a message here. My name is Wilfred, and check out the link at the description, by the way. There's many more guides for you to watch in this channel. And and if you want to refer back to the previous video on Omega system, do feel free to do so. I rank it some of this for you all. All right, have a nice day. Goodbye.